This is the Shotgun City Sheriff, the law himself, Clayton Clark.
This is the young titan, Aaron Atlas.
Hey, this is Matt Brannigan.
This is the war-bound hellhound, Bo Sword.
This is your favorite drunken pro wrestler, a.k.a. the Bud Light Brawler, Dalton Davis.
This is Lizzie Six.
This is Jake Something.
And this is the jaw-jacking, back-cracking, God created all men equal, and then he made me the sequel, Rohit Raju, and you are listening to the Spot Show Podcast.
Spot Show Podcast.
The Spot Show Podcast.
The Spot Show Podcast.
Spot Show Podcast. Hell yeah.
The Spot Show Podcast.
The Spot Show Podcast? Yeah, that's right. I stuttered. Shut up.
Well, hey everybody, welcome to the Spot Show Podcast, an independent wrestling podcast with a few pit stops along the way. Hey, how's it going? I'm the Carson Daly of professional wrestling, Dickie Wabash, joined as always by this man right here. He's always here. He's doing hand motions right now as if we're on camera. Like he's
One
pointing
day,
to
sir.
the stars. He's pointing to
That's
the stars.
my Sabu.
It's a Sabu. Remember, if we do the Sabu something, we might get Sabu callback.
Sabu Van Dam.
Sabu Van Dam, and it always fails. That's the one-legged wonder, Mr. Michael Madrox. Other than trying to summon Sabu, I mean, so what's up?
Man, what a great time to be alive, sir. Big things coming in the MadBash way, as always.
Always, man.
Always, man.
Hey, we would be remiss if we didn't mention this today, though. We're recording today. Toby Keith passed away. So I know that's got nothing to do with wrestling, but I know, a lot of the MadBash boys, they're big fans of Toby Keith.
It has a lot to do with wrestling, man.
Yeah. I mean, you got to remember the suplex to Jeff Jarrett. Yep.
And then he came out the Bella Twins that one time on Raw.
He did. I forgot about that one.
Future Hall of Famer right there.
He should be. At
More
least
deserving than some of those celebrities.
Well, Drew Carey only appeared
In one Royal Rumble.
What's better, though, walking out the Bella Twins or coming out in a Royal Rumble?
He suplexed Jeff Jarrett, though.
He did suplex.
That tops the Royal Rumble.
Is it true? You wouldn't obviously know. Like, you've not been to a Toby Keith concert, so you wouldn't know. But I remember on, one of the, old TNA DVDs, they talked about how, at every Toby Keith show, they show the footage of him suplexing Jeff Jarrett.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Do you remember who was in the ring with him when he suplexed Jeff Jarrett?
Sting?
Scott Hall.
Scott Hall.
Scott Hall was doing the outsider's point to him.
There was
as he
somebody else
doing
in the
it.
ring. Who was it?
Well, it was a battle royal. There was a lot of people in the ring. But the one sharing the camera with him was Scott Hall. Maybe someone else was on the focal point of
Two
that.
grades gone. We have Google Ski.
We do have Google Ski. Hey, I'm going to tell you what, though. While Madrox is giving that a quick Goog Ski, I just want to let everyone know that this episode of the Spot Show Podcast is brought to you by Yoo-Hoo and Elite Pro Wrestling. We're going to hear a little bit more about them later. Of course, unless you head on over to patreon.com/MadBash Studios. Back us at the $5 and above tier. You're going to get this show completely ad-free. And I'm going to tell you another thing that I'm thinking about doing right now is cutting out this rigmarole that I do all the time too, just to give more incentive for people to want to hear the ad-free one. Because I want to be plugging now what else is over on the Patreon. If you're already on the Patreon, you already know about it. Hey, we've been doing something really cool. We have been slowly rolling out some of the original designs for the MadBash Wrestling Championship. We've got the Winged Yeti belt, the Shank belt, the Pink Star belt. All of the original designs for the MadBash Championship are over there for the free membership. But, maybe you want to give it the $5 tier. Not only are you going to get ad-free Spot Show, you're also going to get paid show, which is just bonus Spot Show. You're also going to be getting on the $10 tier Big Stupid Popcorn, which last month there was not a Big Stupid Popcorn. I sincerely apologize for that one. I was sick. I'm still a little under the weather. I'm still a little phlegmy in my throat. So this is what we are going to do.
We're going to make it up to you.
To make up for it, we're going to be having 2 Big Stupid Popcorns this month. One of them is going to be completely free on this podcast RSS feed. So if you're already subscribed to Spot Show Podcast on I almost said paid show. If you're subscribed to Spot Show Podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever, which they I think they shut down Google Podcasts, but anyway,
YouTube podcast now.
Yeah, whatever. All those services, you're going to be getting a free version of
Big Stupid Popcorn.
Big Stupid Popcorn. I got ahead of myself because we are this month also going to have a free episode of Paid Show going live for everyone. Guys, this is the announcement right here. Free Brewery is hitting MadBash Studios because we are celebrating our 1-year anniversary coming up on February 20th. That was when the first episode of the Spot Show podcast went live. That's our official 1-year anniversary. So we're celebrating with putting out a bunch of freebies for you guys this month. Look forward to that. Speaking of free, I understand it. Sometimes you don't have the extra money to toss our way. You can't go over to the Patreon. There is a free membership over there where you can still get really cool behind the scenes photos. As I said, you can see the original designs for the MadBash Championship over there on the Patreon. But there's other ways that you can do this. Go to your favorite podcasting provider, leave us a 5-star review, leave us a written review, let us know what we got going on, let everybody know what's going on, hit a share ski for someone that you think would enjoy what we got going on here. But the big one, patreon.com/MadBashStudios, MadBashStudios.com. Head on over to that Patreon. Even if you support us at the free tier, that would be the best way to support us over on patreon.com/MadBashStudios. Paid or free. Direct the traffic over there is what I'm getting at here. Madrox, your cue. Who was in the ring?
Generic Wrestler A, and it looks like Little Guido.
Little Guido. Generic. Hang on, show me. Who is that? Here, let me look. Literally, yeah. So Little Guido is taking. That's not Little Guido.
That's not Little
I
Guido?
can't tell who that is though, but it's somebody.
They're Little Guido or Sonny Siaki.
Ooh, that looks like Sonny Siaki.
And Generic Wrestler A.
We'll figure it out. Really doesn't matter, but it does look like that someone in the front row right here. It looks like they're wearing a Real Deal Josh Steele t-shirt.
I highly doubt that.
Looks very similar to the Real Deal Josh Steele font, which is funny because like that was 10 years before Josh Steele was even in wrestling.
That's Generic Custom T-shirt font A.
Hey, another thing too, before we get too far into this, I want to give a little shout out here to the Whoop Ass Boys. They got their little podcast going on over there now. Shout out to them. They spoke very favorably of us
That they did.
on their pilot episode with MadBash boy Clayton Clark. There's some groundwork, I think, that sounds like all we got to do is kind of pull some triggers on some things. There might be
little cross-promotional stuff.
promotion going on there, a little working together going on. I'd love to work with those guys. Good on you guys. Hope to see your podcast excel and go really good places. It's not as fun as you think it is.
I'm excited to see if their movie gets funded.
Let's see. I mean, hey, go check those guys over. We'll put a link to what they got going on in the description of this podcast. Shout out to Whoop Ass. First 2 episodes as of this recording are up. They got Clayton Clark and Bo Sawyer over there. 2 guys that are, I got my past and my present over there on that Whoop Ass podcast.
You're the cream filling between that Oreo sandwich.
Shout out to them. Shout out to them over there. But yeah, one was a disappointment. One was not. I'm joking, boys. That was supposed to be a segue. I was talking about my
Speaking
past
of
and my
disappointments.
present. No, both episodes were completely great by those guys. No disappointments there. Keep up the good work, fellas. Disappointments, man. My past was definitely a disappointment in Bo Sawyer. Of course, I'm joking with him as well. You notice that I didn't want to commit to it, and now I'm like, oh, I'm going to upset somebody.
Yeah.
That's just what I
and
do.
it's going to be Bo.
It's going to be Bo. Dickie, well, you disappointed in me. I'm not disappointed.
He's coming at you with those chops.
Hey, here's the thing. You already know what's going on here because you saw the title of the podcast. You saw maybe the graphic that we put on Instagram. You saw maybe the graphic that we put on Facebook. Follow the link ski. Maybe you're already subscribed to the RSS feed. Point is, you saw the title of this podcast. This is going to be a fun one. This is going to be maybe a little bit of a depressing one, if you really think about it. We are going to be talking about some of our biggest disappointments in professional wrestling. Now, when I say disappointments in professional wrestling, and I say our biggest disappointments, I don't necessarily mean things that we did in our career that didn't quite pan out the way that we hoped they would.
We're talking about a whole here.
We're talking just in general.
Storylines, gimmicks, behind the scenes disappointments, everything.
We can talk about stuff personally to us. We can. That's not off the table. I'm just saying that's not what this whole podski is going to be about. I just corrected podcast into podski.
You did. You're bringing it back.
I'm bringing it back. Brother, it never went away.
I think the last few podcasts you haven't said podski.
I'm always saying ski, something ski. It hasn't gone away.
We need
Man,
more ski.
I don't know what necessarily. So, for those of you that know, I'm sorry. I'm still phlegmy from being sick. I really apologize for that, guys. I'm a teetotaler, which means that I don't drink alcohol at all. It's another way of saying straight edge, whatever.
I've never heard that before.
You've never heard teetotaler?
No.
I've heard it before.
Is that some new hipster lingo?
No, I don't know if it's new, but I've heard it referred to as teetotaler.
Ah.
But I got me some mocktails going on here, and man, this is a really good one. I got like this orange zero proof drink. I mixed it with a little Baja Blast, a little bit of simple syrup, a little bit of lime.
It's not bad. I tried
It's
it.
good. This is good. This is good stuff right here. I don't have a name for it yet, but I feel like I should. MadBash Punch.
MadBash Punch.
Wabash Punch.
Wabash Water.
Wabash Water.
There
That's
we
what
go.
we'll call it. That's what we'll call it.
Even though if we're talking about Wabash and water, it should probably be green.
Boy, that's a disappointing name. That is a disappointing name. Speaking of disappointments, I don't know, man.
You want to get the
Wrestling, yeah, I want to get into it. Wrestling is, I've always felt that, you know, I'm very late to the game on this one. I don't know how I'm late to the game on this one because it's an incredible YouTube channel. I just recently started watching Maven's YouTube channel. And he talked about a thing of where it's like people seem to, I forget which video it was. I think it was the one where he broke down the Last Week Tonight where they took down Vince a couple of years ago or whatever, which foreshadowing. And he was talking about, it's like, you know, people seem to forget that wrestling is entertainment. If you don't like it, you can just turn it off. You know, and I think that's another thing that people seem to forget in general is that wrestling is entertainment. And like, just like, you know, to keep it with entertainment, it's just come out that Seth Rollins all of his scenes were cut from the new Captain America movie. Then you watch like, and I don't want to keep it all about wrestlers, but you watch Iron Claw, and MJF is barely mentioned in it, but at least he got his executive producer credit, whatever, stuff like that. So it's entertainment. Rewrites happen, recastings happen. You know, I'm rewatching Game of Thrones right now. The recasting of Dario Naharis, the recasting of The Mountain, the recasting of the fact that Tommen Baratheon was a Lannister that got killed and they just recast him as Tommen. But anyway, the point being, like, it doesn't seem like other media gets as much of a flack for disappointments as much as wrestling does. And I think it's because we can relate with the people that are on TV more than we can the people that are in the movies.
I think it also comes to like the fan-wise though. Like if fans don't like something on TV, they got no problem changing the channel and just quit watching it. But like wrestling fans, like
you're committed.
You have to be, because you changing that channel for 30 seconds, you can miss something completely off the wall different that you didn't expect. Unlike a TV show where like when they just do a recasting or something like that, they're like, ah, well, whatever. Like take Walking Dead fans, like they all quit after Glenn died. And
spoilers.
Like, WWE fans, like
I'm not allowed to talk about Walking Dead.
Whether you like it or not, the dicks come out on the TV screen. You have the opportunity to change it. But say the dicks come out for a tag match, you might have to see the return of the Dudley Boys at the same time. Like,
yeah,
there's that big what if in pro wrestling that you don't get in like other forms of media.
Well, and I think that there's this weird level of, what's the word I'm looking for here? I had the word and I kind of lost it. This weird level of immersion. No, really not the right word with wrestling, where it's like, sure, you know, Tom Cruise is an actor and you see him, but he's not always playing the character that he is in the movie. Like, sure, we see peeks into Tom Cruise's real life. We also see peeks into Seth Rollins' real life, but Seth Rollins is going on these things as Seth Rollins, not as Colby Lopez. Is it Lopez? Is his shoot last name?
I believe so.
I think it is, yeah. So I think that's the thing, is that we get much more invested in these
characters.
In these characters, it is Lopez. Because, you know, again, Tom Cruise is not walking out here always. He's Tom Cruise. Then you see him in the movie and he's da-da-da-da. But then, like I said, you see Seth Rollins.
You see that break in reality. You
Yeah.
don't get that with pro wrestling.
Exactly. So that's like we get so invested in these things. And then when something doesn't come to fruition with it, we feel jaded and we feel pissed off. Like, you know, I think a really good example of a big disappointment, and I don't know why I'm starting off with this one, because I feel like this could be the lion's share of this podcast. Let's just come out guns a-blazing right now. CM Punk in AEW was a huge disappointment, man.
It was horrible.
It was terrible. It had such good promise.
He had the first dance, and that moment was amazing.
Yeah.
That was the worst kept secret in professional wrestling, and they played that part well. And it just unraveled and went downhill and downhill and downhill. And it's still continuing downhill.
I think it all started after his feud with MJF. I don't think they should have put him in the title picture, personally. And I think I have gotten some flack from a few people from this, is that we all need to take a step back and quit doing, you know, well, Meltzer says this, Cornette says this, fucking Sean Ross Sapp says this, so I'm going to take, they were all fucking at fault. The Young Bucks were at fault, Kenny Omega was at fault, CM Punk was at fault, but it all boils down to Tony Khan being fully at fault. You can't blame CM Punk. You can't fully blame the Elite.
You have to blame management.
Ultimately, it comes down to Tony Khan.
In every situation.
Yep.
Because Tony Khan treats everything more as, this is a great idea in my head. Let's go out there and not worry about the aftermath of it.
Now, in your career, in your wrestling career, how many times have you had something be like, oh, this is a great idea, and then you go out there and it flops?
Twice.
What were they?
The Warrior Stomp into the backstabber from the top rope. That was just a flop because the crowd didn't understand what was going on, and it really hurt me really bad. And then the second would have to be the revival of CWF.
I'm glad you bring up the revival of CWF, because I want to get into that later. We've talked a little bit about it. I don't know how much detail we've fully gone into it, but we'll definitely talk about the revival of CWF. You know what? We might save that for Podski, because I think that we can really get into detail talking about our personal
disasters.
Exactly. Yeah, let's do that. Our personal failures in wrestling will be saved for Podski. Boom, there you guys go. $5 tier coming for you. But I mean, it was such a disappointment, man, because you wanted to be so happy that Punk is back, man. And
you didn't get the CM Punk we lost 10 years ago.
No.
You got
you got a fucking crybaby.
You got a bitter, broken down old man.
Yeah. You got a guy, for all intents and purposes, that was bitching because Adam Page went off script. Punk, you would always fucking buck the system. How's it any different from what Hangman did?
I honestly think that's a problem. Like, all these guys tried to, like, do the CM Punk theory when Punk came back, and Punk wasn't having it because he's like, oh, you guys can't do that now.
Yep. And I want to go on record and say this right now. I like CM Punk. I'm a CM Punk fan. Always have been. He's in my top 10. He always will be. But the same reason that anybody wants to vilify Hulk Hogan because of his backstage politics, if you're going to sit there and tell me that CM Punk didn't backstage politic, then you're completely wrong. I got news for you. The Young Bucks backstage politic, Kenny Omega backstage politic, CM Punk backstage politic. And I'm telling you, none of it would have happened if during that press conference, Tony Khan would have just looked at Punk and said, Punk, shut the fuck up. But he didn't want to, because he didn't want to hurt Punk's feelings.
he just sat there like a deer in fucking headlights and just nodded and smiled. Like, you got this guy burying your whole company next to you. Why are you sitting there smiling and nodding all nervously?
And I don't want to hear the rumors about the extracurricular activities maybe that Tony Khan is on. I don't believe any of that. That's some horse shit that Cornette threw out there, and his cult believes it. But, I think Tony Khan, for all intents and purposes, is just a really socially awkward guy who is uncomfortable in his own skin, who is just really excited. He's living his childhood dream. But again, just because it's your childhood dream doesn't make it right or noble or whatever. Charles Manson was living his dream. Michael Bolton, you see my point? Joe Stalin, Michael Bolton, you see my point? But I don't know, man. It was just, it could have been so good because you look at his feud with MJF. Money. It was money. The stuff that they were doing. Punk coming out as ROH Punk for his dog collar match. Let's talk about the matches that he had. They were incredible matches.
Up until he got that damn title, man.
Up until the title, and not even up until he got the title, up until the story of the title, because that's when it all fucking started.
True.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else you can say about it. It was just, other than it was just a disappointment. It was, because it was right there in the palm of their hand. I mean, and they fucked it up.
You got stories with disappointments, okay? But this disappointment just grew and grew and grew and grew to the point where he got released.
It kept growing. Yeah.
It never improved. It couldn't have been like, oh, well, this storyline's not working, so let's switch it up or separate these guys. Nah, fuck that. They got heat. Let's put their matches back to back where we know they're going to be in Gorilla together.
And then the whole Jack Perry thing, it kind of ties into it as well. Tony Khan should have, I don't know what he should have done. I'm not going to armchair quarterback it. I don't know what I would have done in those situations as the owner of the company. But, I mean, all I know is that, say that one day we fucking book a MadBash show, hypothetically, and fucking Johnny Poke comes storming into fucking Dalton Davis's locker room or something, and then, fucking
Clayton Clark bites Jared Savage.
Yeah, Clayton Clark bites Jared Savage or something, and then here comes Oliver Kane throwing a chair. I don't know how I would handle that. It just depends. I guess I would look at it and be like, okay, what reason does Johnny Poke have for being that intense? What reason does Dalton Davis have for wanting to fight back? You got to weigh the options here. And I think that every single person is to blame for it because they were all fucking children.
But the manager of that company is not going to say that his people he placed as executive vice presidents are at fault.
Nope.
I mean, what? They were suspended for fucking 2 weeks and then came straight back?
No, it was longer than that. It was 2 months or something.
Was it 2 months?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that long at all.
Yeah. Because was the AEW show we went to after Brawl Out?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
they were in the best of 7 series trying to get the trio titles back.
Yeah, that's what it was. I remember now because that was 22.
Yeah.
22. Okay. Time frame starting to figure out here. But yeah, man. I mean, coming off hot with that one, man. CM Punk in AEW is one of the, if not the biggest disappointment of and we're not going to say within the last, we're just in general, but I'm just saying of the last 10 years, that's the biggest one to me.
And I got a disappointment that might rival that one. The WCW Invasion angle.
I had Invasion in my notes too.
Did you really?
I did.
I mean, you want to talk about a flop and a letdown.
Yeah.
I mean, they buy the company. They're talking about gang wars now. WCW is invading Monday Nitro.
And then here comes Chronic.
Buff Bagwell, Booker T, Sean O'Hare, Sean Stasiak, Chuck Palumbo, DDP later, Scott Steiner later.
Steiner was after the Invasion. Here's the other thing too. I think that this is a perfect segue into another one of the ones that I had on my list is Diamond Dallas Page in WWE. Because it all kind of ties together. Because it was they fucking threw this weird stalker gimmick on him. And
he goes from the people champ to the stalker.
Like, how easily could they have done People's Champion versus People's Champion?
That's what Paige fought for.
Oh, I know.
And they were like, nope, we're going to make you a stalker and put you with The Undertaker.
I mean, at the end of the day, all the Invasion was, it was a victory lap for Vince McMahon.
I know, man, but like, you know, that Nitro, you were probably watching it like I was. When Shane McMahon's like, I bought WCW and we're going to sock it to my dad.
Actually, I wasn't, because that was when I was out of wrestling.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I've gone back and rewatched it, yeah.
But I mean, you're sitting there thinking like all these dream matches, NWO, DX, like, and we got a watered down, we got Saturday Night Special from WCW.
Pretty much. And man, I'm going to tell you right now, which this ties into another one of my disappointments that I kind of want to talk about that's on the outskirts of wrestling. I want to take a little sidebar here to preface to what I'm talking about. Adam Blampier he did a how I would book the Invasion, and it was fucking wonderful. Now, one of my biggest disappointments in like the wrestling sphere is the rise and fall and then rise and fall again of Adam Blampier, because I'm looking at this content creator that I love his stuff, and then you find out like, oh my God, you're a piece of shit who mistreats women. Like these just terrible allegations come out about him, and you know, he essentially almost made Cultaholic fail before it even got off the ground. Then he takes his hiatus, he comes back, and he's like, I'm better now, mate. And then he gets going with Wrestle Talk and Parts Fun Known, and then more allegations come out about him, and now he's gone.
I mean, allegations go hand in hand with professional wrestling.
They shouldn't, though. They shouldn't.
It's ridiculous,
and it fucking sucks, because Adam Blampier is so fucking entertaining, and he is so good at what he does. I am good at I've talked about this. I'm good at separating the art from the artist, but when it comes to shit like that, it's a little bit harder to do.
It's a big gray area. It's not a thin line. It's a big gray area.
Yeah, it is. But that brings up my point, is that even Adam Blampier could book a better fucking Invasion than... And what it all came down to with the Invasion was it was all contract shit. Mm-hmm. Because they chose to not get fucking bought out of their contracts.
Would you blame them?
No, I don't blame them.
Home making millions of dollars or taking a pay cut to come back on TV?
But you also got to look at it how it could have worked. Is that, sure, drop the extra bit of money. You know it's going to fucking hurt you in the long run. But look at the return that you're probably going to get from it. Maybe don't worry about the XFL so much, Vince. Maybe invest your money in getting Hogan, Nash, Hall, Goldberg, Sting. Worry about getting these guys. Bring them in. And you would be off to the races. By the way, if you guys like, I know that I don't want to plug someone that has done terrible things, but that how Adam would book the Invasion is really good. Jim Cornette booked an Invasion, like the blow off. I'm bringing Cornette up a lot. I don't know why. And it was nowhere near as good as Adams was, but yeah, man, I agree with you though. The Invasion angle.
Maybe we should try our own Invasion booking.
That would be interesting to do. Like hypothetically going through and booking what
the Invasion pay-per-view should have been,
how the Invasion should have gone out. Yeah,
I mean, the Invasion angle did give us one good thing: the return of the ECW originals.
Yeah. Here's my question. Do you think that the alliance should have happened, or do you think it should have been a three-way war?
I personally think that the situation it was in where WCW had zero star power, because let's be honest, nobody was a big Mark Jindrak or Sean O'Hare fan back then except for me.
Well, because that's not WCW to us.
No.
You know?
They just that's new blood basically. But, like, back then, for that situation, they needed the ECW names to drive that fucking team.
And I'm just going to ask your opinion on this, because I just rewatched this segment the other day. It came up on my algo and my reels. Do you know the one person that was really made from the Invasion and they just refused to pull the trigger on?
Chris Kanyon?
No, but I agree, Kanyon. Rob Van Dam.
True.
Rob Van Dam excelled. Like, could you imagine if he took the belt off Stone Cold Steve Austin during the Invasion?
It would have been mind-blowing, man.
Oh, my God.
But that was Van Damme's, like, debut and everything, though.
But here's the thing, though, is that you talk about Austin, you talk about all that. They had no star power on the Invasion, so they had to
put Austin with them.
Put Austin on there. And then meanwhile, Triple H was out with an injury, so he wasn't there for it, and that really sucked.
Rock was only there for a little bit of it, wasn't he?
Yeah, he came in at the tail end just to take the belt off Booker. Because Rock was off filming Mummy 2, I believe.
The Invasion was basically Chronic versus Undertaker and Kane.
Yeah, and it was a shitty fucking match.
That sums it up.
You know what we should do? I say we bring back the retro pay-per-view reviews. Let's do Invasion.
Oh, man.
You want to do Invasion?
Do a little two-part ski. Watch the Invasion pay-per-view, and then how we would have booked it.
Yep.
Boom.
I say we do that. We'll be doing that here soon, whether it be like the next week or whatever, because we've got some stuff lined up. We might be getting a guest on pretty soon. Hint, hint. All I'm saying is I'm just putting some positive vibes out into the ether to hope that we can get a guest, because we got someone cooking. But the Invasion, man, it was such a disappointment. And like, you're looking at someone who I'm even admitting I wasn't even watching wrestling at that time. So could you imagine if me coming back into wrestling and this is what I see? It's like,
it would have been horrible.
Ooh. Imagine the people that never left. I'm still watching.
Like me.
But
Traumatized.
how, and I know what killed it, was Buff Bagwell versus Booker T in Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
And Buff Bagwell, like, literally getting thrown out of the building by, was it Stone Cold, wasn't it?
Stone Cold and The Rock? Or Stone Cold and Triple H, maybe?
No, Triple H was hurt at this point.
Angle. It was Kurt Angle.
Yeah, because Triple H got hurt, like, right after WrestleMania 17. Like, not long after, because they did Backlash, and then that was Triple H's last pay-per-view, I'm pretty sure. And then he got hurt on Raw, which was still a really good match, even though Triple H got hurt.
That was against Jericho and Benoit, wasn't
Jericho and Benoit, yeah. Which, by the way, blanket Benoit statement. We're just throwing that out there. We always got to throw out. We need to make that a new thing. Let's do this right now where, because the whole Vince stuff, just came out, which we're probably going to touch on that a little bit. We got Benoit, who was a piece of shit and killed his family. I think that we create a thing right now where we just say a single phrase. We don't know what that single phrase is going to be, where we don't have to always be like, we know that they were a terrible person, but we're going to talk about the character. So we'll come up with a good phrase. I think we'll think of something. Because this is something that's been in the back of my head for a while. Something that we
just to
should
cover our own asses.
Yeah. Not even just to cover our own asses, but
just
it's
so we don't have to
because,
go on a 5-minute spiel about like, oh, he's a great worker, but a horrible person.
Yeah, because we've done that every time we've mentioned Benoit, and now it's got to go in with Vince and probably Brock now too. But yeah,
there's another guy too.
Johnny Ace?
No, not in current situations. One of the biggest blunders in professional wrestling history.
Oh, is this going to be another? Is this a segue into another?
Let's talk about Velveteen Dream, brother.
Let's talk about Velveteen Dream. After we hear a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Yoo-Hoo, a product of Keurig Dr. Pepper. So here's what I want you to picture right now, right? You're on a long road trip. You're driving along and you're thinking, man, I could really go for a nice, sweet, refreshing drink. You pull into a gas station and the first thing you see is Yoo-Hoo. And I got to tell you, grabbing that Yoo-Hoo, that's going to be the right decision every single time. Yoo-Hoo is available in a variety of flavors, vanilla, strawberry, but here at MadBash, our personal favorite is chocolate. I'm going to tell you about Yoo-Hoo a little bit more, right? We absolutely love this stuff here at MadBash. We cannot get enough of it. And you know what? We're going to sweeten the pot a little bit here thanks to Yoo-Hoo. If you see us at a wrestling show and you buy a MadBash wrestling sticker, you are entitled to one free bottle of Yoo-Hoo on MadBash Studios. Limit 1 per customer while supplies last. Now, come on, guys. You can't beat that deal with a stick. Again, MadBash would like to thank Yoo-Hoo so much for sponsoring this episode. This episode of the Spot Show podcast is also brought to you by Elite Pro Wrestling. Here's the thing about Elite Pro Wrestling, right? You have them to thank for the Spot Show podcast in many different ways. Elite Pro Wrestling gave MadBash Studios our first opportunity when we decided to come back into the wrestling business. So Elite Pro Wrestling is one of the OG backers. We love Elite Pro Wrestling so much. They are putting on incredible shows every single month. You should absolutely be there, whether it be in Odin, Indiana, Washington, Indiana. We would love to see you in the crowd there at Elite Pro Wrestling for every single thing that you need to know about EPW. Head on over to EliteProfessionalWrestling.com. There you are going to find dates, events, links, everything that you need to know about EPW. Thank you so much for being a day one sponsor, EPW. We very much appreciate it. I'm going to tell you, there was no other person that was more served on a silver platter to be a star than Velveteen Dream.
Man, the Patrick kid from Tough Enough that had no charisma whatsoever, going out there, breaking his comfort zone, and becoming a megastar over fucking night.
Do you remember his feud with Aleister Black?
I do.
Fuck. I acknowledge. What do you say? I acknowledge you, Velveteen Dream. And it was after their match, and it was like he was trying to get him to say his name the whole time, but he wouldn't do it. And then
he finally did it.
Yeah, he finally did it.
Show of respect. You want to talk about good feuds with him? Ricochet.
The Ricochet feud was good.
Where he actually wore the Prince Puma tights during their match.
Yep. That's another one that's a disappointment, man, and that kind of ties into the Blampier thing of where it's like it's a disappointment because of what they turned out to be.
Well, I mean, now he's on the Chris Van, I don't know his last name.
Van Vliet.
Yes, Vliet. Talking about 3 years later after all these allegations that he's got receipts and he can prove that he's innocent. It's like, why did you wait 3 years to do this?
I mean, that's a whole other can of worms that we probably don't want to get into, but sometimes people just don't want to give someone the opportunity, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, Velveteen Dream is someone that really comes to mind. But I mean, that was also an era where people were getting called up from NXT, which this is a good segue into another one. Like NXT call-ups, man, they always fucking flopped. They never really fucking made it. The only major person to ever come from NXT and be super duper fucking successful is Seth Rollins.
I don't count Seth Rollins as an NXT call-up, though.
He was, though.
But he was an indie darling, ROH and all that. There has never been anyone in their own farm, except for Velveteen Dream, that has made the call-ups shit work. And look where that got him. Think about that.
Man, let me actually think about that one. Has there been a homegrown Strowman? I'd throw Strowman out there. But, I mean, because, Strowman main event at WrestleMania.
No, that's true.
And Strowman was a Universal Champion.
I forget about Strowman even being in NXT.
Roman Reigns wasn't in NXT. He was in FCW, but Liaki, like, he was farm grown.
He's got it from his family, though.
That's fair. He does have that connection. Alexa Bliss.
Not true.
I'm going to throw Alexa Bliss in there. She's someone that was completely from the ground up, built up, and like groomed in that. Well, maybe don't use the word groomed.
Grown.
Grown in that system. And by the way, we're about a half hour in, and I'm just now standing up from my chair adjusting. Carmella had a pretty solid run too. Man, this is one that you kind of threw me for a loop on because, like, if I really would have had time to sit back and think about it, I could probably come up with more examples. And there's probably going to be a bunch of people telling me, "Oh, you forgot about this person." But
that's what happens when you make a list.
I'm gonna throw fucking yeah. These are definitely some wrestlers to watch. I'm gonna go ahead and throw Braun Breaker in there, man. He's starting to look like he could be something big, but again,
He's not there yet.
Will he though?
Mm-hmm.
Will he though?
What are they going to do with him on the main roster?
Who knows?
Make him act like a dog and eat dog food?
Man, did you read that every spot that he had in the Rumble this year was supposed to be Brock's?
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
I could see it going back and rewatching it.
After that bit of information, yeah, it was so abundantly clear that that was supposed to be Brock Lesnar.
Did you see Brock's already been removed from the new 2K game cover?
As of today of this recording, I saw that he was removed from the cover, and then I'm assuming he's removed from the game as well.
I doubt they're removing him from the game this late, coming out next month.
They've done it before. They did it with someone. Who did they do it with? Benoit. Didn't they do it with Benoit?
I thought Benoit's was like months after they even started making the game.
Maybe. Because when did that happen? 07? I'm trying to remember if Benoit was in SmackDown vs. Raw 08.
He wasn't.
Then, yeah, they did it with Benoit. They did it with Benoit. They retroactively took him out. I'm pretty sure they retroactively took out Punk, too. Fuck. They have ways of doing that. Man, what about Hayde Vanson, man? That was a disappointment.
Who?
Is that a shoot you don't remember who?
No, I
you
don't
remember
who.
Hayde Vanson?
No.
They aired all these vignettes about like how he was essentially going to be like a Christopher Daniels Fallen Angel style character, and he was going to feud with Taker, and then they just cut him.
Really?
They just stopped. Yeah, look up Hayde Vanson. Not right now, but no one remembers Hayde Vanson.
So kind of like the Mordecai gimmick.
It was not as... Yeah, kinda. They did a little bit more with Mordecai, though, because Mordecai actually had a couple pay-per-view matches. Yeah, Hayde Vanson, that's a pretty big letdown.
Are we going on gimmicks now? Because I got a whole list of gimmicks.
I mean, we don't really have anything specific. We're just kind of...
7.
Hey, everybody, look at me. I'm 7 now.
They put me in white face paint, made me look like a pedophile on TV.
And it sucked. I was Gold Dust, and it sucked. And now I'm this character. I'm 7, by the way. This sucks.
Dude, spending weeks on fucking probably millions of dollars worth of promo videos with the suspension cables and everything else.
Here's what we're gonna do, bro.
We're going to have you looking in kids' windows, man.
Yeah.
That was a bad one. Tying in with 7, Black Rain.
Black Rain. I don't know, man. That Silent Night, Bloody Night fight that we watched.
No. No. Like, I love Dustin Rhodes. I'm named after the guy. Like, come on, man. Black Rain was a big letdown.
Dude, here's another thing about Dustin Rhodes I don't think enough people are really appreciating right now. His AEW theme fucking goes hard, and it's awesome.
His AEW run's been hard so far.
Yeah.
Even when he's just out there jobbing, that boy goes.
Didn't he and Edge just wrestled? Or sorry, Adam Copeland, and it was really good?
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
I haven't watched it, but I've heard the reviews.
I've heard it was really good.
Which I'm not surprised, because everything Dustin Rhodes touches is gold anymore.
Ha, pun intended. Go ahead and just keep rapid firing gimmicks right now, man.
Relic.
You mean killer spelled backwards?
I do mean killer spelled backwards.
Okay, I really think... Okay, we need to separate some things right now. You're seriously going to sit there owning a fireworks stand telling me...
I'm tired of the fireworks stands.
You're going to seriously sit there and be like, oh man, these had potential. Johnny the Bull Stromboli or whatever his name was.
Stromboli.
What was his name?
Stamboli.
Relic never had fucking potential, man. Like, it's whatever. Neither did Black Rain. It was just throwaway shit.
Kazarni.
Okay, Kazarni was fucking dope. Sin Bodhi.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude. It was dope.
Man, I love those vignettes, and they never did nothing with them.
Yeah.
Didn't he come out and do one match from Velocity, and that was it?
I think something like that, yeah.
Jesus, man. When they repackaged the Paul Burchill from the Pirate was fucking goated.
Oh, and they were doing the incest gimmick
Yes.
with Katie Lee Burchill. That was pretty fucked up.
That was a big letdown to me.
I
was like, finally, I was a Paul Burchill mark, man. That dude was
Paul
good.
Burchill was good. You're gonna fuck your sister, Paul.
Can you do that now?
I don't know, because Vince McMahon probably really wanted someone to fuck their own sister.
Oh, man. The lesbians. Do you remember this? Like in 2005, 2004.
HLA?
No, just the lesbians. The group of the lesbians before it was HLA.
No, HLA.
No, it was after HLA.
Because HLA was in 02, brother.
It was after HLA. It was just two girls that would come on screen and just make out anytime.
I don't remember this at all.
3-minute warning killed him.
Dude, you're getting your time. No, you are making shit up right now. Because HLA got interrupted by 3-minute warning coming out and beating them up. That was not in 05. That was in 02.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% sure, dude.
Well, my timeline's off, but there was a group called the lesbians, and all they
There
did
was never a group. No, you are making.
I'm Googling it.
There was never a group called the lesbians. What it was is that two women came to the ring for hot lesbian action, is what they called it. And they were billed as the lesbians, and they got in and did a strip tease, and then 3-minute warning came out and beat them up. There was never a group in wrestling called the lesbians.
Pretty sure there was.
There wasn't. You're wrong. Don't even bother looking it up. You're wrong. Like, there's some pretty bad taste shit that has happened in wrestling, and that's pretty fucking bad taste.
The lesbians.
Yes, that's them coming to the ring for hot lesbian action, you dumb motherfucker. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. There was never officially a group in wrestling called the lesbians.
Are you sure?
Dustin, I'm fucking sure.
Then why do they got nameplates that say the lesbians?
You dumb motherfucker. I just explained it to you. You're doing a bit right now.
I'm not trying to do a fucking bit. I'm really confused.
Dusty, look at me. We're shoot naming on this one. There was never a group called the lesbians. Find another screenshot besides that one that is a fucking meme that there was never a fucking group called the lesbians.
I'm Googling.
There was. You're wasting your goddamn time, dude.
All right, that's fine. Carry on to the next topic while I Google.
No, because I want you to, because here's what's going to happen. Your fucking tires are spinning. You've already figured out that you're fucking wrong, and you're going to just think that it's going to fall into obscurity by me talking.
From my memory, there was a group that just came
wrong.
out as the lesbians.
Yes, it was the lesbians. God damn it, dude. It was the
I thought the lesbians and the HLA were two different things.
No.
I could have swore they were.
The only thing that they did was that when Eric Bischoff made Stephanie McMahon take part in hot lesbian action on a pay-per-view. That's the only other time they did it.
Okay, then. Well, I got my shit mixed up.
You're not that you got shit. You're just making shit up.
What am I making up?
That there was a faction called the lesbians.
There was.
There wasn't. They literally just had two women come to the ring and they made a nameplate.
So the women changed every time?
They did it once.
Okay.
They only did it once, and it was a vehicle to get 3-minute warning off.
Well, I didn't know that was part of the HLA segment. I thought the HLA segment was completely fucking different.
No, because
the lesbians were their own thing.
Eric Bischoff made the comment, you guys have gone about 3 minutes too long. And then that's whenever 3-minute warning came out and beat the fuck out of them. Like
okay, my memory's off a little bit.
They gave them fucking pop-up Samoan drops and came off with Superfly splashes. It was actually...
All Samoans get pop-up Samoan drops and come off with Superfly splashes.
Doesn't matter what size they are. God, that really got... Because you did that thing of where, like, you were so wrong about something, but you were just standing your fucking ground.
Dude,
no, this really fucking happened.
I could have fucking swore it was two different things, sir.
No, they never did it again. Hey, man, what about William Regal in 08 as the Raw general manager?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Man, William Regal is the best wrestler.
Is that a bad thing as him as the Raw general manager, though?
No, what I'm saying is that it built him up as a monster heel, and he should have had a world title run.
Oh, absolutely.
William Regal is the best professional wrestler never to win a major world title.
I think King of the Ring, William Regal should have had the world title.
That was 08.
Was it 08?
Yeah, because it was right after General Man. I might be getting my timeline mixed up. But because it's when Layla was his manager. Remember?
Yeah.
Like, for not very long, actually. Layla really wasn't his manager very long. Unless I'm just misremembering.
Poor Layla.
But there was so much they could have done with Regal, man. Like, and again, it's another one of, it's his own fault because he was addicted to drugs and stuff like that, whatever. But then he got himself clean and came back. Like, his feud with Dean Ambrose in FCW, those matches are incredible. Like, still to this day, I reference him on commentary because he was working Ambrose's arm, and then Ambrose said, "You better take it home with you, Regal."
That was 2007.
7? So, okay, I was off by a year. As him as general manager or him as King of the Ring?
General manager.
Okay.
I'm Googling King of the Ring now.
So then that had to be 08 then, was King of the Ring. Because it couldn't have been 07. Or 06, I mean.
Tajiri was the best part of general manager. Regal.
Oh, man. Tajiri and Regal together? Are you kidding me? That was so good. That was so good. I just think William Regal's career in general is just like, man, it could have been so much more because he's someone that like definitely deserves his flowers. And like someone like Danielson and now Moxley and all of them giving him his flowers, like, you know, at the Blackpool Combat Club, like, you know, and then Danielson like wearing maroon is a little nod to Regal. Like, thank God there are people that fucking acknowledge the fact that he's so
How bad
good.
of a trainer was Shawn Michaels at Wrestling Academy if Bryan Danielson has to go to William Regal to say he's more of his trainer?
Or not even trainer, but just mentor in general.
It was 2008. He won the King of the Ring.
I had a feeling because I knew that he won King of the Ring after he was, or before he was, or at, yeah.
Singlet William Regal did not hit hard, though.
No, singlet William Regal was tough. But, I mean, he was rocking the singlet whenever he had those banger matches with Moxley, though.
That is true.
Those promos are so good. Like, that whole story in general is just so good. But, like, when he's like...
We were actually there when William Regal got right off at AEW.
Oh, yeah, we were. That's the second reference us going to AEW. That was a big night. Because it was after MJF had just won the title.
Yep.
And he unveiled the big Burberry belt.
We got a lot of history going to wrestling shows together.
You know, we do. We do. Were you at the Raw where... I've asked you this before. I know the answer is no. Were you at the Raw whenever Foley and Funk went off the stage in the dumpster? I was.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about that on here before.
The Terry Funk tribute show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Go back and listen to it, guys, if you haven't.
So, man, I'm going to tell you right now, one of my personal biggest disappointments. I mean, obviously, the pandemic was fucking terrible. It was awful. And wrestling was able to somehow thrive in the pandemic, which really surprised me. But the pandemic robbed us of one thing that I will never be able to move on from. And that's that Maven almost got signed to be a ring announcer. No, I'm joking. Not ring announcer, commentator.
Backstage correspondent.
Yeah. No, man. In the weeks leading up to the pandemic, they were building up to a match that I was looking so forward to that I knew would have been great. And I'm just going to look at you and say one phrase, and I'm going to see if it clicks with you and see if you remember. The ring general sends his regards.
Gunther versus somebody.
Walter versus Finn Balor.
Oh.
Was being built before the pandemic.
Yeah, because during the pandemic, didn't they get stuck overseas?
Yeah. The pandemic essentially killed NXT UK. I miss NXT UK. NXT UK was so good. Man, Walter versus Ilya Dragunov, the first match. God damn, dude. Nuts. But back whenever they were Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel, Finn Balor, he was already the Prince. This is before he won the NXT Championship because he won that during the pandemic, which his run as NXT champion during the pandemic, my God. People love to give Moxley credit for putting AEW on his back as champion during the pandemic. Man, Balor put NXT on his back with that title run. Like the matches he was putting on during that time, bonkers good. Bonkers good.
He brought out the best in everybody during that run.
Man, Finn Balor in general, like him with the Universal title was a big disappointment because it's like, fuck. But then you really think about it and you're like, he would have just dropped it to Goldberg. You know,
I'm looking back on it, yeah.
looking back, that's what would have happened. But I'll never forget, because I'm a big Gunther fan. At the time he was Walter. Finn Balor is arguably my favorite wrestler of all time. Him and Jericho kind of trade off. And man, I don't even remember who he was wrestling, but he hits it. And he looks up in the stands, and there stands Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel. And they're like, the ring general sends his regards. And then I just knew right away, I was like, they're going to fucking build a Gunther and Balor. They're going to, Walter and Balor. They're going to build the Walter and Balor. Like, oh my God. And you know, Balor probably would have taken the UK title off of him.
This, though, if my memory's correct, is around the time they were announcing all the other NXT spinoffs they were going to do, like NXT spinoff South Africa, NXT India, or whatever.
Australia, Japan, yeah.
Because this was going to be the big coalition where like everyone got involved, and it was going to basically be like a territory war.
Essentially.
Where it was going to be NXT versus NXT UK, and then all these other brands were going to pop up, which Corona killed those too.
Yeah, Balor actually went over to the UK and worked a few matches, building up to the story. It was going to be, because it was going to be UK takeover. Was it Belfast? It was an NXT. It was an NXT UK takeover that got canceled. Let me look that up real quick. Vamp while I look this up. But stay on this topic though, because I'm
staying on it, man.
Was it Cardiff? No, because Cardiff happened.
Cardiff was a big one.
Cardiff was awesome because that was Walter versus Tyler Bate, and they went like an hour. My God.
What do you think is the best overseas pay-per-view so far?
Clash at the Castle.
You think so?
Yeah.
Backlash Puerto Rico was on a different level. Just because of the fans.
Yeah. It looks like it was NXT UK takeover. I don't remember. It's not coming up for me. Huh. But it was going to be a takeover that ended up not happening for the UK. But yeah, Clash at the Castle was really good. I really enjoyed Clash at the Castle.
Dublin
is what it was. Okay. NXT UK takeover Dublin, because they were definitely, the main event was obviously going to be Walter versus Balor, and you knew Balor was going to end up winning because they were in Ireland, and it would have been fucking huge. So yeah, man, Finn Balor, man, Walter. And we've got little tastes of it a little bit, like on TV now. But yeah, man, Finn Balor when he was the Prince going against Walter at that time, when he was just a fucking colossus and just destroying everyone. That would have been a banger
he's still
match.
Doing.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
but if you notice the past two Royal Rumbles, like those guys stayed separated the whole time.
Dude, if we... Oh, man.
Could you imagine that stare-off in a Rumble?
Oh, my God. Don't get me
NXT
started.
TakeOver Dublin would have been cool, but could you imagine WrestleMania?
Oh. Man, the fact that we got to see the Demon at WrestleMania, I thought was really cool.
Dude, okay. Disappointments. The Demon on the main roster.
Yeah. Agreed. With the Roman Reigns screw job where the fucking rope broke and...
Everything.
There have been 2 good Demon matches on the main roster. The Hell in a Cell and him versus Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania.
Those were good, but that's not my Demon, man.
No, my Demon is coming to the ring dressed as fucking Leatherface with a chainsaw and coming to the ring like he looks like Jack the Ripper. Which it was the Babadook, be honest. He was the Babadook. He wasn't Jack the Ripper. He was the Babadook. But I love the Demon. I love
the main
Demon.
roster Demon though, like they made it watered down and less than what it should have been. Like,
Man, I'll tell you,
especially when the Demon debuted, when he came out with that fucking leather belt around his head with other pieces of belt hanging off of it.
That was the original Demon outfit. He had that in the original Demon outfit.
But the main roster one was horrible.
The main roster, yeah, his main roster demon was really bad. And then you could tell that like they started putting less and less work into it. Like you look at the NXT I almost said UK, but the NXT ones, they were like going full body for him. And then like look at the shit that he was doing like on the indies with that. Whenever he did the original demon, he was Carnage. His whole body was painted.
Yeah. And then it's like, once they got to the main roster, they're like, we can't have this much talent and art going out there at one time.
Is Finn Balor underrated, do you think? Or do you think he's rated?
Don't get me wrong when I say this. I mean, no regards to Finn Balor. I think it was a compliment. Finn Balor is the Owen Hart of this fucking generation.
No. Absolutely. No insult at all. Finn Balor is the Owen Hart of this generation.
Always there at the main event picture, but never can quite grasp it.
Yeah.
But he goes out there for his mid-card shit and dominates and proves that he should be the main draw.
Look at his, again, look at his Prince run.
Mm-hmm.
When he was the Prince down in NXT, I'm telling you, him and Kyle O'Reilly is one of my favorite wrestling matches. So good. Him and Pete Dunne was awesome.
Him and Joe's Wars.
Oh my God. Him and Matt Riddle. Him and I'm thinking of just the Prince run, but if we want to go outside of the Prince run, man, him and Shinsuke had a really good one before Shinsuke got called up. Or no, before Balor got called up, sorry. What's some other really good Balor match? Man, the ladder match with him and KO, the Beast in the East pay-per-view, him and Kevin Owens, like, man, so good.
Like I said, he's the Owen Hart of this generation.
He's just so consistent too.
Mm-hmm.
He's just so consistent.
And you never hear anyone say any bad thing about working Finn Balor either.
Nope. I'm gonna tell you one thing. This is probably going to be a good one to close out on here, Madrox.
Let's hear it.
Because I know you and I both. We've talked about it so many times on here, how big of fans we were of this era of wrestling. Then this company closed. And then 4 years later, there was a reunion pay-per-view. Then the next year, they did another reunion pay-per-view. And it was announced that there would be a third brand of WWE. And it was going to be ECW. WWECW was such a disappointment to me. And I was so heartbroken to see what it became.
Man, ECW should not ever have been put in a stadium.
What I'm going to say to this right now, I could sit here for another probably 30 minutes and be like, here's what they could have done. Here's what they could have done. They just shouldn't have done it. They just shouldn't have done it.
They should have, though. Think about it, though. Without the rebranding, we would have never got Sandman in a video game.
Yeah. Here's the other thing, too, though. We touched on Van Damme a little bit ago. Another big disappointment, his fucking run, because he got caught with fucking pot in the car and like controlled substance with Sabu.
You got to pose it back, brother.
Yeah. I'm just sitting back thinking. And then look, they had the Kurt Angle blow dealt to him. And then
that was the beginning of Perk Angle, though.
That was the beginning of Perk Angle.
I mean, it did bring up some good. I mean, we got CM Punk out of it. They made Johnny Nitro a star out of it.
Christian had his comeback. It's Christian.
Mark Henry got a run with the title.
Yeah.
Even though it was the worst belt design ever.
Oh, that revamped ECW title is so... Do you remember the fucking Night of Champions where they didn't have a design for the ECW title, so they just took the fucking Cruiserweight title and put the
ECW
logo on it?
Yep.
What the fuck, guys?
Do-rag Vince.
Well, we got to take that one with a grain of salt now at this point.
That'll be on Paid Show coming up here shortly.
I just remember when they did that WWE versus ECW head-to-head pay-per-view. Or no, not even a pay-per-view. It was a special. They did it on a random Wednesday night. Do you remember this?
Was it on a Wednesday night?
It was leading in, yes. It was leading into One Night Stand 06. And they opened the show with Van Dam versus Rey Mysterio. And Van Dam and Mysterio, they do the spot where Van Dam puts him on the barricade and then does the twisting leg drop onto it. And then they spill out into the crowd. And it felt just like old ECW. Shout out to an Instagram account that I follow called That Time in ECW. There was a reel that they posted recently of Sandman and Mikey Whipwreck. And Mikey Whipwreck is just Sandman is just picking up the barricade and beating the fuck out of Mikey Whipwreck with it. And he's just like throwing it and all this other shit. It's just fucking awesome. But that was ECW. And that particular spot where they spill out into the front row, I was like, we're getting a glimpse of that ECW, man.
Of what ECW could be.
Of what ECW could have been.
And they killed it on the pay-per-view, man.
The pay-per-view is one of my favorite pay-per-views of all time.
And then that next Tuesday, it just started off with a shit show. And went downhill.
Yeah. And then the final nail on the coffin was Paul Heyman leaving at December to Dismember.
Oh, God.
And Bobby Lashley winning the belt.
Mm-hmm. They tried to treat ECW as their NXT at the time.
Because that's literally what it turned into.
It was just a feeder ground.
It was their developmental. And at that point, it's like, why are we even still calling this ECW? You know, my ECW, like, main event, the first show, Tommy Dreamer versus Sandman. You know, shit like that. Like, what are we doing, guys? And then they traded Sandman to Raw, and it was like, which if I ever get to talk to Sandman, like, that's all I want to talk to him about is when he got traded to Raw. That's literally all I want to talk to him about.
How did this happen?
Yeah, I just want to ask him, so when did you know that WWE ECW was a fucking flop?
He'd probably be like, well, kid, sold a couple t-shirts and they sent me up there packing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It could have, like, I'm not even going to sit here and say that it could have been good, but I was an idiot and I let my hopes up and they fucking kicked me in the nuts.
I remember quit watching around the third episode. I think that's when I stopped watching it.
I think when Van Dam dropped the belt to Big Show and then we were getting shit like Undertaker versus Big Show in the main event. Kane versus Big Show in the main event. Fucking here comes Ric Flair taking the fucking big swing into the fucking thumbtacks. Like, what are we doing, guys? This is not easy.
Do you remember the early vignettes from the first, like, fucking 3 episodes?
For the record, for those of you that might be new listeners, Madrox says vignettes on purpose.
Yes, that's the Joker Sting reference.
Yeah, he does it as a reference to Joker Sting. Dude, the vignettes, like whenever they were doing like the new breed of Extreme or whatever.
Yeah, with Shannon Moore and CM Punk and Elijah Burke.
Man, Elijah Burke.
Kevin Thorne. Like they played those damn little clips out forever, man. Like the 1 hour episode of ECW would be like 30 minutes of this person's coming in 2 weeks or this person's coming in 2 months or vice versa and shit, dude.
Say everything twice. Say everything twice. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
Fucking Nacho Libre. Or no, it was Macho Libre. He's WWECW, man.
We got the zombie though.
We did get the zombie.
That should be in the Hall of Fame.
We got Big Dick Johnson jerking off Sandman's kendo stick. Remember that one? I love that gif. I love that gif. I don't know, man. It was just never meant to be. It was just never meant to be. They should have, but we know what it was. It was fucking money because One Night Stand 05 was their fastest selling DVD and shit like that. So they wanted to capitalize on it. But I don't know.
It flopped, man. They passed on so many of the originals they could have had working for ECW that they could have pulled out of the big stadium shows and just run it in bingo halls. Give us that old school feel.
If they would have, well, the reason they did that is because they did it after SmackDown. And that was another detriment, is that it's like the crowd is dead because they just watched all of SmackDown.
Sat through 2 hours of that.
Yeah.
Plus,
so
they
now-
taped Velocity before that.
And they would tape Velocity. So, but I agree with you.
They AEW'd themselves.
They were AEW before AEW. Because, man, the third time we brought it up, but when we went to AEW, it felt like we were there for fucking 12 hours. Long. It's fucking annoying.
2 hours of live TV, 2 hours of taping, and then an hour YouTube show.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible.
And that's what I'm saying, is that it's like they set it up. I don't think they ever thought it was, they never gave it a chance. I don't know if it deserved a chance, but like you said, if they would have done a thing where they run it out of little venues like the Hammerstein Ballroom and shit like that, like little, small, intimate venues, that would have been fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah. You would have captured that fucking feeling where everyone would want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been like the best kept secret on national television at this point.
Which it kind of was when it was on national television to begin with.
True.
I mean, we've talked about ECW a little bit on here, but we love ECW so much. We've done 1 or 2 ECW shows. We did November to Remember. Oh, and then we watched a Hardcore TV.
Yeah.
For paid show. We did a little watch along ski. I remember now. Well, sorry to bum everyone out with all these disappointments. Feel like next week we've got to do some of the biggest successes in wrestling, but that one just wouldn't be as fun to talk about.
Yeah, we can talk about the lesbians again.
Dude, the fact that you genuinely thought that, you're an idiot.
It's whatever.
You can't just keep saying, "Oh, it's whatever."
It's whatever.
To excuse your stupidity. But well, I
that's
think
my point proven from the beginning of the damn episode. Wrestling's got so much shit. It's hard to draw the line.
Yeah.
Big gray areas, guys.
Yeah. Notice though, like, we really only focused a lot of our time on WWE and a little bit on AEW, but like there's so much TNA that we could have talked about. Like you could just essentially say TNA.
I could essentially say WCW.
Yeah. But this could definitely be a topic that we could re-explore at some point. I think would be really fun. So, all right, guys. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get ready for Paid Ski. We're going to talk about some of our personal biggest letdowns in the business that we experienced. Also, just going to kind of shoot the shit on that one. Like I said, it's essentially the post show. So I'm sure a lot of the same topics that we talked about here are going to be carried over on that one. That's just the natural flow of things. As soon as we stop recording this one, we go right into Paid Ski. So, yeah, for those of you that are on the Patreon, obviously this goes up early. We'll hear you on Paid Show. For those of you that are listening to it on the podcast feed, man, Paid Show's available right now. Go listen to it, man. $5 to get Paid Show. That's a hell of a deal, but that's not all we got over there. Tons of stuff over on the Patreon. Patreon.com/MadBash Studios. You can find links to everything that we do. MadBashStudios.com. You can find me on Instagram at DW_mischievous_rabbit. Stay tuned, guys, because we've got some really cool Ascend to the Throne stuff coming up that we're going to be announcing. We're going to be figuring out a venue for that's coming up pretty fucking soon. We've got it on the back burner. Just don't know when the announcement's going to come. We can't just spring it on you guys. Got to build the anticipation, you know what I mean? But yeah, for Michael Madrox, I've been Dickie Wabash, and we'll see you guys on Paid Ski.